You got a job offer, and now you have the opportunity to jump into a new career, work on new projects, and work with new people. And all of this can be very exciting. But you may also find yourself doubting a little bit whether or not you should take this job. And I'll be honest, if it's a little bit of self-doubt and you're scared of the change, then you probably should take this opportunity. It can always be a little scary jumping into something new, but more or less, it'll probably be a great opportunity for you. However, if there were any serious red flags in the interview process, then I would tell you to pump the brakes and make sure that you're not jumping into an opportunity that could hurt your career in the long run. So in this video, I'm going to be going over 8 reasons why you should not accept the job offer. So stick around. It's important to remember that while companies are interviewing you for this job, you should also be interviewing them. You should be figuring out if this is going to be the best fit for you. Now, there are some serious red flags that you should look out for when going through an interview process. And we'll go through all of those. And if you find yourself in any of these situations, I would highly recommend getting out. Number 1, if they ask you any questions that are illegal. Interviewers are not allowed to ask you any questions regarding your age, race, gender, marital status, religion, or family life. Even a question as simple as, do you have kids that would prevent you from getting to work on time, is an inappropriate question. If you're asked any questions along these lines regarding your age, your race, your gender, or marital status, it should raise a red flag for you, and you should be wondering how incompetent, biased, or prejudiced is this employer, and it should cause concern for you. Number 2, if the job description does not match the job that they are describing in the interview, this could be a real red flag. Obviously, before you go into an interview, you should be reading the job description and refreshing yourself on it and making sure that you're able to touch on certain points in the interview. So if you're sitting there in the interview and you start to realize this doesn't sound like the job that was written in the job description, this is called a switch and bait. Ultimately, what they're doing is putting a specific job description out there for people to apply to and then changing the job description and the job responsibilities once somebody is interviewed or even hired. Ultimately, this will set you up for career dissatisfaction, and this should be a warning sign that things aren't adding up. Number 3, if the job continually gets taken down and then reposted and taken down and reposted, this should be a big warning sign. You should ask about why this position keeps getting taken down and then reposted. Either they're not getting any applicants for this position, or they can't seem to find somebody to stay in this job long enough. And these should all be very big warning signs. Number 4, high turnover. Figure out why the person that was in this role previously is leaving the company and how long were they with the company. High turnover could mean a lot of things. Either the workload is too high, the company culture isn't great, or there's a boss that is very difficult to work with. Check out companies like Glassdoor and read the company reviews. Now, you'll probably get a good mix of reviews on there, some that are high remarks and some people that weren't happy. But if you see a reoccurring theme or just a majority of negative reviews, this is a red flag and something that you do not want to ignore. Number 5, any bad mouthing of other employees. This is a huge no-brainer. Now, obviously you don't have to love or you don't have to like every single person that you work with, but you should respect your coworkers and the people that you work with. If you're sitting there in the interview and you notice that the interviewer is bad-mouthing the employees or their coworkers, this is a huge red flag. And this means that the company culture is not healthy. And so this is something that you should avoid at all costs. Number 6, if the offer is significantly lower than the market data for this role. Now, before you get an offer, you should be doing your research to know what the market data is for this industry and this specific role. And if the offer is significantly lower than this market data, this basically means that they're going to be tight on budget to give you any bonuses or any raises in the future. Number 7, if the company asks you to work on an in-depth project during this interview process, then you should be wary of this. I have heard of certain situations where the company will ask a candidate to do a in-depth hypothetical problem that the company is dealing with. And this candidate will put in hours of effort and will solve this big problem only to have the company come back and say, thanks, but no thanks. We are no longer hiring for this role, or we've decided to hire somebody else. Yet they still take that candidate's hard work and they use it. So basically they're having you do free work. Now, sometimes companies will have you work on skills tests or little projects here or there to see how you can execute your technical skills in certain areas. And these things are normal, but if they're having you work on long, tireless projects, then this is something that you should question and be wary of, because it could be a big red flag. And number 8, if you feel uncomfortable in any way during this interview process, then trust your gut, because you're probably not wrong. Whether it's an employee being unprofessional in any way, or you getting weird emails from this company in late hours, or you just go in for the interview and they weren't that polite to you and you got a bad vibe about their company culture. Anything along these lines, if you're not feeling 100% that this would be the best fit for you, then you do not need to take this job offer. I would definitely recommend questioning or digging a little bit deeper and see if this is really a big red flag, or is this just kind of a fluke? Either way, I would really recommend following your gut before accepting an offer. I get that there are certain situations where people are tight on money and they need to make a career change as quickly as possible, either because it's a bad work environment or because they're just not being paid what they need to be to make ends meet. In these situations, I would highly recommend being strategic about the jobs that you are applying for and trying to find the best situation for you. Because ultimately, you don't want to get in a cycle where you're jumping into one bad job after the other after the other. It's all about setting yourself up for long-term success. And so you want to make sure that you're choosing a career that will help you do that. If you want additional help with interviews and setting yourself up for long-term success, then hit that subscribe button, because that's what this channel is all about. And if you have encountered any of these, then leave a comment down below of what your red flag situation was. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.